Yes, so I hope you are all doing well. I figure most of us are just hanging out at home right now on lockdown, doing a shelter at home, self quarantine, things like that. So I figured I'm working on my videos and stuff, and I wanted to just spend a little time hanging out with you guys and see how all you're doing. So I'm really curious, honestly, like what you guys are up to. I'll talk in just a minute as people start joining and everything about kind of things that I'm working on, how things are going here, upcoming videos and whatnot. But I know a lot of you guys who are going to be watching this are going to be tuning in after the live stream as people here are actually joining in real time. And so for those of you guys who are tuning in after, just let me know down in the comments, how are things going? Are you at home? Are you one of the essential workers out and about? Are you getting bored? Are you watching Netflix? Are you watching YouTube videos? What are you up to? So I'm actually just curious, how things are going for you guys on your end. I know things are pretty crazy. Like Valentine, for example, they just started shipping their new V1 Gen 2s. Ohio just got shut down and they're on lockdown now, and they can't ship these new V1s anymore. So everybody who, if you want one, I think this morning they're still shipping out a couple, but if you go look on their website now, it actually says that they're on hold indefinitely because they have to stay at home. They can't go into the office. So new V1s right now are not shipping. I know Amazon has got some restrictions too, where they're trying to focus on essential items. And so what that means is for their warehouse, they're no longer accepting deliveries of a lot of non-essential items like radar detectors and whatnot. And so it may, depending on how long this goes, radar detectors may sell out on Amazon. And so that, I don't know how long that's going to last for. I think it was April, they said that they're, at least for now, holding off on shipments of those. Come on up, buddy. Come on. There we go. And so who knows how long that'll last, and maybe, inventory with radar detector companies. Are they going to be able to keep getting components? Are they going to keep getting, radar detectors in dash cams? I've got a couple dash cams down there that I'm going to be doing a comparison on. So I think it's a big question mark right now as far as how things are going. I know if it's not on Amazon, some companies like Escort, Redenso, they sell direct. Uniden, they do, I think, as well, but usually it's more expensive than if you go to Amazon, versus Redenso and Escort, it's the same price on their websites. So it's kind of a question mark. I think one of the next videos that I'm going to be doing is I want to do a video going over kind of some of the best detectors. So V1 Gen 2 versus R7 versus Max 360C versus Pro M. And I've been kind of putting together a nice chart that goes over, how do they compare in terms of performance, BSM filtering, Bluetooth, GPS, price, MRCD, RDD immunity, arrows, lockouts, manual versus auto versus built-in versus tying into your phone, and kind of trying to simplify that thing. Because that's, I know I can see here in the questions, you guys are asking like, oh, how do these detectors compare? And, that's something that I've been wanting to do. And yeah, so I think that'll be a nice upcoming video. I also want to do a comparison with some of the 4K dash cams. So that'll be coming up as well. And then the programming stuff, I definitely want to do radar detectors, the next TP. The radar, yeah, I definitely want to do, oh, hey, thanks, Cat in the Hat. I appreciate it for the $10 super chat. Thank you. And yeah, you're welcome. So another thing that I want to do is all the V1 setup stuff. So how to program the detector manually, how to program it with your phone, the benefits of tying in V1 driver or JBV1. Signed up again for the V1 driver beta, and they've got some auto dark display stuff that they're adding, kind of similar to JBV1. And so I'm trying to see how close I can get with my own iPhone instead of having to run the Android just to get some of the extra JBV1 features. So I'm spending a lot of time kind of learning a lot of the nuances and things that you won't see just from the initial spec sheets. So like sometimes audio output through your phone may or may not work well depending on your car and how you have it configured. So spending a lot of time kind of learning all that. So, oh, this is an interesting one. What's great for dense uber urban areas like New York City, R3 or Pro M? Both of them, I think, should be pretty good. Against the MRCD, I know they do a lot better now. The R3 just got a new firmware update, 1.53. It brings a lot of the updates that we had with the R7 to 1.29. So the MRCD capabilities should be a lot better. So I'm actually curious from a lot of you New York guys, I've heard, things have gotten better with the latest R series update. With the Valentine, they're not very good against multi-radar. I wouldn't recommend them. It's not practical to use those. But the Pro M and the R3 seem to be two of the best. The consensus that I've been hearing is the Pro M does do a better job in terms of alerting and fewer false alerts versus the R series give you more false alerts. So that's kind of one of the trade-offs. The Pro-Ms still do seem to be the best against the multi-radar. The MRCT, like what we see in Chicago, you're going to get a lot more falses with those than the MRCD. I think in New York City, it's the MRCD that's in use, but somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, as far as that, the Pro-M. But yeah, again, I'm kind of curious now that you guys are starting to join. I saw some of us, Amish, you said some of us have to work. I know some of you guys, yeah, like either you can work from home or you, maybe some of you guys are doctors, you've essential workers, you know, dealing with like water plants or delivering food or pilots, things like that. So I haven't seen my R3 go off in a while. Highway Patrol are worried about COVID-19. I actually saw a fair amount, and I've been looking on JBV1, seeing like Washington State Patrol aircraft flying overhead. So I've been seeing some, at least when I was driving last week. Still seems to be some stuff going on. Chavez Lions, anything new from Escort and the Red Line EXC? No. And I'd imagine at this point, everything is kind of calming down. So we'll see if that actually comes out. Again, we're still just kind of in speculation and rumors on if that comes out. Was it something in development? Is it ultimately going to be released, regardless of whether it was in development? Who knows? So no new updates on that. Let's see. Yeah, as far as things in Washington, oh, Troy, let's see. As an EMT, we have to work. A few cases here in upstate New York. Good. I hope you stay healthy. I know. Thank you so much for going out. I know it's part of your job, but you're putting yourself into harm's way to help take care of us. So thank you, Troy. Here in Washington, I know it's New York and Washington were like the two biggest states where all this stuff was happening. And yeah, we're on like shelter at home right now, I think is what it is. There's a couple cities that are, you know, they're like kind of mandating, not mandating, that's the wrong word, but really trying to get it going. Where this first all started breaking out was like where I normally go. Like every week we would go to parent baby classes at one of the hospitals, and we would bring our babies, and we've got to know all the other moms and dads and stuff. And that was like the hospital where all this stuff started here in Washington. So obviously we've stopped going there. So far, everybody here is okay, at least in our house. So knock on wood, hopefully that continues to be the case. But a lot of things are getting shut down. There still were people at the beaches and stuff, especially last week, since the weather was nice. This week it's going to be cloudier and rainier and colder. But people were still out. So not everybody is taking this super seriously. A lot of people are, luckily, especially here because things have really kind of heated up, but there's no dead bodies in the streets right now, luckily, or anything. So that's still good. But yeah, most everybody's here. We go out to walk our dog and talk to our neighbors from a distance and cross the street when you see somebody coming towards you and stuff. A lot of stuff like Amazon delivery is 3-4 days out now or more. Food delivery and grocery deliveries all become super popular. But yeah. Let's see. Perek Leaseful. I work at a military base and it isn't closing. Yeah. Let's see. Obi-Wan Kenobi. WI, I think that's Wisconsin. Starts shelter in place tomorrow. Seems like a lot of the stuff, more and more, this is happening. If it hasn't happened already, it's going to keep happening. How are you guys doing at home? Are you watching a lot of Netflix? Are you going bored? Are you hanging out with your family? Are you getting along with your family? I know that's, of course, a big thing, too, depending on your situation. Let's see. 9500X. What mode should I use on my new V1 Gen 2? That's an interesting one. So the two best modes seem to be little L mode, logic mode, or advanced logic mode. Little L, I think, is probably the best place to start. It alerts to everything that it thinks is not a false alert from the K verifier. So it filters out a lot of BSMs. And then it's going to keep everything muted for a couple seconds while the signal is weak. And then if the signal starts getting stronger, then it's going to go ahead and alert you. And I like that paired with maybe a V1 driver or JBV1. So it'll do the initial muting, and then that has time for the lockouts to kick in or the low speed muting to kick in with one of the apps. So I like that combination. For the most amount of filtering, if you don't have a lot of K-band, you can switch to big L mode, advanced logic. It's going to try and filter out more false alerts like door openers and BSMs, but you're still going to get falses to speed signs and some door openers and stuff. So again, the phones really helped kind of cover that, but advanced logic is going to give you the most amount of filtering and reduction in range. Little L mode, I think, is maybe the best place to start if you're concerned about K-band. Start there. If you want more aggressive K-band filtering, because there's not a lot of legit K-band, and you really want a quiet detector, maybe run big L mode. So those are the two to take a look at. Let's see. I'm teleworking. Cabin fever is really terrible. Yeah, I feel you. It's a thing. Like, I don't know. Hopefully this helps. We can just hang out and chat and maybe be a bit of a distraction while you guys have cabin fever. Edwin going crazy with the kids. Too much cartoons. Yeah, I know streaming cartoons, Comcast, Xfinity just said they're uncapping everybody's data plan. So if you have Xfinity, you can stream Netflix and cartoons and YouTube or whatever without going over your 1 gig, 1 terabyte cap. So that was nice of them to do that. Let's see, Steven, I cook at facility and listening. Thank you for doing this. Nice change. Yeah, you're welcome. Joe John P. Haven't left the house in 9 days, working from home, ready to get out for a drive. Are you guys adapting if you're working from home and you haven't before? Has that been kind of like tough to adapt to? I naturally work from home. This is my office here at home. I sleep upstairs. It's my house, So this is kind of what I normally do. My wife normally has a job. She works at Microsoft, but she's able to work from home now with, programming and does her meetings over the computer and stuff. She's having to adapt. Normally have a desk over here, which we've moved upstairs for her to kind of create a makeshift office. So we've been adapting. It's a little bit tougher since she's not used to it, but it's an adapting thing. Randy, you could have been in a U-Haul. I know. My mom is here now. She moved out here, and all of her stuff is in storage. So she's here. Thank you, Sean, for the super chat. I appreciate that. So her stuff is in storage. She came with like a suitcase, and so she's here indefinitely until we can go back and get her stuff. So that's kind of wild too, I guess. Joe John, I did a lot of online classes in college. Worked from home every couple months and have a home office, so not an issue. Just weird being at home this long. It is weird. It is weird. I know we're not at the point yet, as far as I'm aware of, like you can't even go outside. I know sometimes there's restrictions that are sort of you can get around. If you have a dog, you're able to go for a walk, even if you're otherwise supposed to be on lockdown. I know in some places, like people would actually give their dog to their neighbors so their neighbors can go and walk their dog and get out of the house. And then there's memes of the dogs being like, I don't want to go for another walk. I've gone on 15 walks today with you and all your neighbors and stuff. So the dogs are getting tired. I don't think we have that restriction here in place, but yeah. Let's see. Piers Skiful, is it worth to upgrade from an R3 to an R7 in Virginia? Probably not, just because of the fact that the R7 is more detectable to radar detectors. The R3 seems to be less detectable. So based on that, I would say stick with the R3. If you want to get arrows, maybe the V1 Gen 2. They're, I guess, not available now because, well, Valentine is shut down. Essentially, they're on lockdown now, work from home, and they can't go to the office to sell their detectors. So it's kind of a weird time, I guess. But if you're in Virginia and you want an arrow detector, I guess if you want a windshield mount, I'd say go for the V1 because it is more stealthy than the R7. Or you can get something like an Escort Max CI 360, but that's way more money to go for a custom installed unit. So I'd probably do that. Bernie, this is an interesting one. Is it worth it to upgrade from the V1 to the V1 Gen 2 in California for KA only? If you're getting enough range, maybe not. I mean, I know we've been talking about range, cool, but the BSM filtering here is quite a bit better than the V1 Gen 2. You can get some additional filtering from the apps. So if you're already running it with V1 Driver or JBV1 and you're only running with KA, I don't know if it's necessarily worth upgrading. Yeah, I mean, maybe fewer KA falses, if that's a thing. That could be something to consider. But yeah. Let's see, Hamza. R7 is the best because it's an arrow detector. I don't actually think the R7 is the best detector. I think it's a great detector. It's one of the best detectors. And I think for a lot of people, it's a great compromise because you've got long range and you've got GPS built in, so you don't have to mess around with the phone. I think for a lot of people, the Max 360C is probably a better choice because it does auto lockouts and it has better BSM filtering than the R7 does. It's got a little bit less range, but for the kind of the non-enthusiast, your general everyday average Joe driver, this is probably a better detector. Fewer falses and auto lockouts. You don't have to mess with it. Great. For a lot of you guys that are spending your free time watching radar detector videos at home, you're probably more of an enthusiast. And so you're probably like, hey, I'm cool with, messing around with the detector a little bit more. Hamza, best to say in the Uniden lineup. Yeah. If you're cool with messing around with your detector, go for this. Okay, you'll get more false alerts. Yes, you got your lockouts. They're manual instead of automatic, but you got longer range. And that's a big selling point here compared to maybe the Escorts. And then the V1, I mean, great range like the Uniden, better BSM filtering. Plus, you got the auto lockouts that Uniden doesn't have, but you got to tie it in with your phone and stuff, which is a lot easier than I'm finding a lot of people think. It's not a huge compromise to tie in your phone. And I want to do a video talking about that. It's actually very easy, and it does an awesome job connecting in the background, and it adds features that you don't get with the other detectors. And even if it has auto lockouts, like this has it, the auto lockouts work better on the phone than they do built into any detector. So yeah, so I think it's definitely worth consideration. Cat in the hat later. Yeah, thanks for stopping by on your lunch. So I wouldn't be too quick to discount the V1 just because you have to pair it with the phone to get maximum functionality. It's not a huge deal to do, and it does a great job connecting in the background. You guys asking about Redenso Thea? Well, the plan, of course, was for it to come out this year, but I think this whole lockdown situation is throwing a wrench into the whole thing. I mean, they're at Redenso not able to go into the office. They got to work from home. So how much can they do as far as continuing to develop at home instead of in the office? Are they going to be limited as far as being able to receive inventory, to keep selling detectors and making money, to continue reinvesting that money into R&D? So I think the whole situation that we're in now is throwing a big wrench into everything. And so if nothing else, I think Thea is going to be delayed at least. How much is it going to be delayed? No idea. So we've got a lot of question marks right now with everything. So let's see. Thea for Edmonton. R7 has a 50% faster processor. What's the benefit if you compare it to the R3? Well, it has to scan twice as much. I mean, it's scanning both forward and ahead. It's got twice as much information as a detector that's only scanning ahead. So it's got to do more work and then compare directions and stuff to give you arrows. So just that alone means it's got more work to do than just the R3 does, right? So having a faster processor definitely helps. Does that mean you're going to get 50% more range? No. It just means it can process the information it's receiving that much more quickly, which is helpful when you're getting more information simultaneously, such as having two arrows or two antennas to give you arrows. This is my second cup of coffee, by the way. I've been feeling sort of like tired and stuff, so this is to help me wake up. Sean Spears, we have a lot of great detector options right now. We really do. We're really fortunate to have so many good options. I wish there was, well, maybe when Thea comes out, it'll be like the one best detector, but right now there's a lot of good options. So saying which one is the best, it's kind of, well, if you need this, if you need that, if you need that. Gold Death first. Do you still consider the older 9500 Ci a good detector? Great range, zero BSM filtering. So if you need it with K-band, it's not going to be that useful. It's got auto lockouts, great, but no BSM filtering. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend running the 9500 Ci or, I mean, those older detectors. That's one of the situations where if we were to throw it into a long range test, you'd be like, whoa, look how big the bar is. Look how much range it gets. Awesome. I should go get it. And then you try to run it in practice and it falls constantly because it has zero modern BSM filtering. So I wouldn't recommend running it. It is compatible with Escort's older laser jammers that are no longer being updated, that are discontinued, just like the radar detector that can't jam the latest gun. So, I mean, if you're looking for a custom installed Escort, go for the Max CI 360, and you can get newer laser jammers too. But no, the 9500 Ci or STIR, STIR Plus, they're discontinued now and for a reason. Ever considered making your own detector? I've had a couple companies ask me to come in and help them build a detector. And I've thought about that with some companies more than others. And I ultimately decided against it because I really value that being this like third-party, objective, unbiased tester. And I mean, I beta test for some of them. I help them with some development behind the scenes. And you guys know that. I talk about that with like, oh, you know, United's working on the beta here. Here's something with Escort, or here's whatever, like different companies. Sure, I do that. But I really like just sitting back and as much as possible being this whole objective, unbiased tester and testing all of them. And I think if I was to go in and help develop a detector, it would, yeah, help make a better detector. But then I think it would compromise my position of where I'm at with kind of being like, well, I really want this one to be good because I helped create it, right? And so instead, kind of my compromise has been like, maybe I'll help get some ideas or something, or I've done videos on like, if I was to build the ultimate detector, here's my features checklist, here's what I would be looking for, and kind of taking the best from everything and putting that video up. And if a manufacturer, whoever it is, wants to make that detector, great, cool, thank you, please do, that would be awesome. But I don't want to put myself in a position to where now I have to, well, even subconsciously, I would want one detector to favor another because I helped make it, you know? So that's kind of been the balance. So no, I don't really want to make my own detector, even if, I guess as weird as it would sound, help create something that would be really good. So Charles Ma, what would you say is the best laser jammer? That one is pretty easy. Anti-laser priority still to this day. There are good options like the TPX, the TMG, the Stinger fibers. Depending on what you need, they maybe have some advantages over the ALP, but as a whole, the ALP Yeah, it's the best laser jammer. That's still the one to this day to get. Let's see. Is a 360C, Josh is asking, worth the money, or what would you wait for an updated model to come out? So that's an interesting question. Are they going to come out with a new version of the detector? We don't know. That's kind of what we're hoping with the Redline EX 360C or whatever they'd want to call it. If they made a Max CI kind of custom installed detector and made it a windshield mount, that I think would be better than the Max 360C. But today, where we stand today, this is my favorite Escort windshield mount detector. And I think with the whole situation we're in now, that's going to be delaying any development or product launches right now with shipping and inventory and all that. So that's thrown a whole wrench. So even more so now, it's probably not a good idea to wait for something in the future. And if you want something now, I put links in the video descriptions to all the detectors that right now I recommend. You can pick one up now because I don't know if this stuff is going to continue to be available, if it's going to stop becoming available. So that's maybe something to consider. I know the V1, for example, these are no longer available for now until Ohio gets out of lockdown and they're able to go back to the office. So we're just in this weird situation, you know? Let's see. Troy, the M1 is all right. Would you recommend a different dash cam if you pick up a 360C? So yeah, the Escort M1 dash cam, it attaches to the side of the radar detector, so you get one radar detector dash cam combo. It's not a great dash cam. The quality is lower than average. It's $200, and for less money, you can get a better dash cam with more features, better quality, and just a better dash cam for less money. So that's not a good bang for the buck. But if you want something that's more convenient, you just, it's all one package, one power cable, and just one mount, and I'll throw it together. Great for rental cars or your main car just to make it easier. Sure, you can get the M1 and it'll do the job. Don't expect it to be the greatest dash cam ever created, but it's more you're paying for the convenience of getting kind of a hybrid all-in-one solution. So if you want that, cool. Just don't be expecting the best video quality or the most amount of features ever. For that, I like the VFO A119 V3. Way better quality, way more features, and like almost half the price. So yeah, but that's also a completely standalone dedicated dash cam as opposed to kind of integrated here with the Max CI or Max 360C. Is the R3 still a good option? Yeah, you can get that detector for $299 now. I mean, $300, you're not going to find anything else in that price range that's going to give you that much performance for that little money. I know we're kind of getting at the point where like the DFR9 and the R3 are within like $30 of each other. And so there's like at this point today, there's not really a good reason to get the DFR9 when you can get the R3 for a few dollars more and it's so much better of a detector. So yeah, I mean, the R3 has dropped from, where was it, 400 initially, wherever it was. Now it's $299. So yeah, if you don't need the arrows, you don't need auto lockouts, it's got MRCD, stealth, long range performance. It's a great detector. Yeah, would it be worth getting the R7? Do you want arrows? One of the biggest limitations, I guess, non-arrow detector. I'll just grab the Pro M, have it sitting here. When it goes off, you might be wondering, where is the officer? Is he ahead of me? Is he behind? And maybe you're trying to figure it out based on the ramp up. You might have more difficulty telling when you've passed the alert and it's behind you and you don't really know. So the arrows really help give you additional information. If you pass an officer and then you see the arrow lights up ahead again and you're like, oh, there's a second signal up ahead, that's really useful information that you don't get from a detector that doesn't have arrows. So it adds a lot to the experience. Do you need it? Not necessarily. Does it add a lot? Absolutely. So I personally love arrow detectors. I don't like going back. Yeah, once you go arrows, you never go back. For the vast majority of people, myself included, that is the case. So I find it to be a benefit. If you don't want to run a detector with arrows, I'd say maybe try never using one. Then you kind of won't know what you're missing. But once you do have it, for the vast majority of people, it's hard to go back to a detector without arrows. I love my new V1 Gen 2. So beautiful. Let's see, buying a front horn for the 9500IX. Will that work grill mount? The 9500IX is not a grill mount detector. That's a windshield mount detector. I wouldn't recommend trying to stick it in the grill and using Bluetooth to like go to your phone or something. Yeah. Get an installed one with like proper waterproofing and, a more beefy case in case like rock chips or dirt, or don't try to stick a windshield mount if that's what you're asking in the grill. Let's see. Russell Jordan just phone software you were using on the V1 Gen 2. Do you mean the one I was using in the video for the testing? That was really cool. It's called RD Test. It was just released a few days ago. It's an Android-only app specifically for radar detector testing, and it's awesome. It records the audio essentially as you're driving, and when your detector alerts, it logs that location and gives you a distance to the radar gun, and then saves all that. It makes it super easy to export later to make your charts and data and graphs and stuff. It's the coolest app, the best app I've seen by far for radar detector testing. So that's what you saw like when I was doing the V1 Gen 2 video. So I drive and then the detector alerts and then boom, you see a distance displayed on the phone. That's called RD Test. If you look on RDF, the forum, there's a link now to where you can download it. There's a tutorial that's available. I'd like to eventually do a video kind of demoing what it's like, how you set it up, how you sync multiple phones, how you process and export the data after you get home from the test. No immediate plans. I want to do some radar detector comparisons and dash cam comparisons and tutorials and stuff, but I do want to eventually do that app. So the app is called RD Test. I know right now with the whole lockdown situation, there's delays for both iPhone and Android for apps to get approved to be in the Play Store or the app. It's already been submitted, but I don't know if it's available yet. So if you want it, go onto RDA, you can download the APK and just put it on your phone today, so you don't have to wait for it to get approved and become available in the Google Play Store. So yeah. Steve, do you think there will be any more updates for the R3? Probably. I mean, they just released an update a few days ago. 153 just came out to add some MRCD improvements, some display and interface improvements. What was the other one? The speed camera and radar simultaneous alerts, they've improved that. So yeah, there was just an update that came out, plus red light camera database updates too. So is there going to be more beyond that? I don't know. I do think that just with everything going on now, everything is slowing down. People are at home. They're not at the office. So yeah, I do think things are going to be slowing down moving forward. But of course, none of us have a crystal ball. This is a big question mark as far as what's going to happen in the future. So yeah. Russell, do you think you could use a spare phone with no service through a wireless hotspot? Yes. I'm assuming you mean for like V1 Driver or JBV1. You can do that. There are certain features with JBV1 that require an internet connection, whether it's displaying the weather information on your phone or getting cloud-sourced alerts from other drivers, or maybe reverse geocode, typically, especially when you're going in new areas, to look up where you're driving and display your location on screen. Some of that stuff is going to require a data connection. A lot of it is not. So depending on what features you want, you can get a lot of features without needing a data connection. Some of the features will require it. And I'll go over that in an upcoming video. Troy, I got to head out for a call. Stay safe. Hey man, thanks so much for going out and helping take care of people that are crazy. And we're all really grateful to people like yourself for helping keep us safe, because hopefully we're doing our part to help flatten the curve while you're out taking care of everybody who gets sick while trying to keep ourselves safe. So thanks, Troy. And everybody else who's watching this too, if you're going out and work, you're doing one of the essential jobs, thank you. That's really helpful. And everybody else, if you don't, please stay home. Please wash your hands. Yeah. Ta Nevan, so I talked about that earlier, about the 50% faster processor. It's primarily because it has 2 arrows, not because it's going to wildly improve the range, which is why we don't see a wild improvement. The whole thing with the R7, one of the biggest updates is they updated the condenser lens, which gives it a little bit more sensitivity. A faster processor would help it do auto lockouts if and when that feature comes out. It helps it with 2 arrows, but it's not going to give you better range, and that's not what the processor is really for. My door closed. Any improvement with laser detection of the V1 versus Gen 2? I don't know. I haven't tested that. It falls to so much that I don't care. I disable it anyway. I know what Mike V in the interview mentioned, he hasn't done any additional development. They've redesigned the laser stuff. Cool. Does that mean it's more sensitive or better? Don't know. And because it still falls to so much, I have zero interest in testing, even less than if it didn't, just considering how laser detection really isn't the proper tool for radar detectors anyway. That's what laser jammers are for. So I have pretty much no interest in testing that. And because it falls to so much, it's one of those things where we could test and put a lot of time and energy into trying to figure it out, just to wind up with the conclusion of just disable it anyway. And who cares about all the time that we just spent figuring that out, So I have no interest in testing that. I don't care. But if somebody else would like to go through the effort, please do. I would love to see the results of your testing. But for me, that's not a great use of my time. So I'm not going to be testing that. Uniden has an update for the R3 to block Honda and Acura BSM. Yeah, that was with the previous update to get K-block. It helps with those BSMs around 24.199. It does not help with the BSMs around 24.162. So you'll see fewer false alerts, but not completely eliminate them. I called Valentine today to talk over some issues. They were open? Oh, that's cool. They're looking into seeing what problems they can fix with the firmware software. Hopefully, because there's been a number of issues. I know there's been some people are like having defective display with nothing in the car. Open 5 p.m. Okay, so I guess if you want a V1, I don't know if they're shipping out today, but you can maybe call an order. Their website is saying that they're closed. I guess they're open today, so that's good. So open till 5, what, Eastern time? I think Ohio's Eastern time. So David Boone, when can we expect the video on how to program the V1? I already have the instructions on my website. If you want to go look there, I'm going to give 0 timelines for any videos just because it's kind of throwing a wrench. Like after I finish live streaming here, I'm going to stop and then head over and take care of my daughter. We're kind of on shifts because we daycare. So my productivity has gone way down. I can see on the camera right now, my wife is playing with our daughter right now and before her meeting. And so after that, we're going to switch. So my productivity is, I've got other videos I want to do first. So I'm not any timelines for when I'm going to be doing any videos. So yeah, just to be real with you, it is one that I want to do, but you can already go on my website and see as far as programming, I've got a video on V1 Driver with how to do some stuff. There are some changes coming to the app that I'll be updating that article. Just search on the website for V1 Driver and you'll see one there. And there's an article there on kind of getting started with JBV1. The website is a lot easier for me to do in my free time and work on it start and stop. Videos take a lot more time. So a lot of times I'll be doing articles on the website before, maybe well before, like the case right now, I do the related video too. So just something to keep in mind. There's already a lot of content out on the website if you take a look at that. Let's see. There's a ton of repetitive questions that have been covered in numerous videos and forums. It's funny. That's one of the reasons why I started doing videos in the first place was like, I don't like answering the same questions over and over and over. I love, don't get me wrong, I love talking about this stuff, but instead of answering the same questions over and over, I love kind of doing a video, answer the question. Oh, my Siri just went off. I love doing a video or an article to answer the question really well one time, and then everybody can take a look at that. And if there's additional questions, we can talk about that more. But it's just a much more effective use of my time to maybe do a video or an article instead of trying to answer the same questions repeatedly. So yeah, that's just efficiency, I guess, right? But don't get me wrong, please still keep asking questions. A lot of my videos are based on what are the most commonly asked questions? What are you guys wondering about the most? So if you don't see me answering your questions here in chat, chances are very likely I already have something available or something will be coming soon to talk about that. Or if you need a quicker answer, just hop on the forums. A lot of the stuff has already been discussed there too. But there's a lot of posts on the forums. I get it. Not everybody wants to read all that. LG, just got back from work. 3 of my local hospitals have no free ICU beds. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, already full. I guess that's one of the whole things about the whole like shelter at home or lockdown is we're trying to flatten the curve. So minimize the load on hospitals and all because, yeah, things are filling up. So please stay home if possible. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. I'm literally trying like while we're doing this. Hello. Oop, go, buddy. Just to stay safe. And there goes my dog. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well too. Let's see. How can I get a Spectre? There's one on eBay right now. I think there's like a Spectre 2. It's kind of overpriced. I think it's like $700. It's an older Spectre. I got mine, I think, on eBay. So you can find them that way. That's one way to do it. Let's see. Justin, V1 Gen 2. Is there a way to change K-band on and off like with the custom settings in the old V1? No, there's not. Unless you want to do Euro mode and then readjust the frequencies it sweeps for, you'll lose the ability to use logic mode and advanced logic mode, some of the V1 built-in filters, but you will be able to press and hold the button to turn K-band on and off on the fly. I think a better way to do that maybe is using something like JBV1, and you can have it automatically change settings. You can even do geolocation profiles. I forget the exact term, but the idea is when you drive from one place to another, it can automatically change settings. So if you drive into an area where you know there's no K-band or you want K-band disabled, it'll automatically turn off K-band for you. And then when you drive to another area, it'll turn K-band back on. So you can have JBV1 do a lot of that for you while still using some of the filters built into the V1 with logic and advanced logic mode. So that may be a better solution. But yeah, I think that's probably the way to go. Oversteer is based on your usage in 7 on the city. Is the filters as quiet, the V1 to an advanced logic? It's very quiet with advanced logic. It's doing some things to try to filter out things like door openers, for example. If it sees multiple signals, it's like, oh, maybe this is a door opener or a BSM or something, as opposed to only one signal. It's more likely to alert to that. So it's doing some additional filtering. We are seeing some things to where, like, if you drive up to a door opener, it can filter out a lot of door openers without relying on lockouts or low-speed muting, which is kind of cool, but not always. You'll see things like maybe it'll filter out some door openers, but then when you park your car and then restart your car, it's going to alert to those signals, and then you're reliant on low-speed muting if you're using Savvy or your phone for low-speed muting or lockouts. So the filters work sometimes, but not always. They don't work against door openers or speed signs. So I'm finding it to be surprisingly helpful. A lot of people, I mean, one of the big things is like, oh, it helps to have a phone with this for GPS. If you're running in big L mode and maybe Savvy for big L mode for advanced logic and Savvy, you're still going to get a pretty quiet detector even without GPS. Yeah, you're not going to have lockouts. It's not going to help for when you're driving at speed against speed signs and stuff. There are going to be some exceptions, but for a non-GPS detector, that may be one of the quietest detectors you can get, which is kind of amazing. And it's easy to like no GPS, and totally true. GPS does, and I still think it's necessary, but it's still a surprisingly quiet detector if you're using Savvy for low-speed muting and advanced logic mode. Yes, it'll still false, of course, but it's quieter than a lot of other detectors, especially non-GPS detectors. So something to keep in mind. Any tips and tricks to minimize the ghosting that we're seeing from the Gen 2? I'm seeing it too. I don't know if there is a solution or an option that we can do. So I don't know if there's a good solution to that. Brandon, do you know why the R7 firmware has not been updated on the Uniden site? It's updated. It was actually just released there a couple days ago. So if you need the R7, but if you go to their website and you click on radar detectors and then the gray button for firmware, you scroll down, it'll actually give you 1.29 right there. It's the same update that was released weeks ago. And I've asked repeatedly, when are they going to release that update? I don't know why it took so long for that update to get posted on the website. I haven't gotten an answer. They just released it and didn't even tell me. And then I saw it on the forums, 1.29 is out. And I was like, oh, they finally released that after I was nagging them for a while. So I don't know what the story was with that. It's, as far as I can tell, it's the same update that we've had for a while. They just added a newer red light camera database. So yes, 1.29 is out now. Close. Okay. Does it seem like Uniden isn't releasing updates as fast as it seemed? Yes. That's one of the big changes with when they change personnel. New project manager, the person is in charge of getting updates, of communicating with beta testers, of getting the updates pushed based on what we're wanting and back and forth with Adawave. Like, yeah, that's one of the changes that we're seeing with some of the personnel changes on Uniden. And I guess just with the whole thing going on right now for everybody, I think that's just going to slow things down with people not being able to go into the office, and hopefully they can come home. There's a hair flying around. I'm trying to catch it. I think it's my dog's hair. Does the R7 with K-band segmenting resolve most of the BSM alerts? It does not. K-band segmenting sort of filters out a lot of the maybe higher and low band K-band frequency range, but you're still going to get a lot of K-band falses in legitimate police radar frequencies. So you can't rely on K-band segmentation to filter those out. You can do some things like K-block, filter out Hondas and Acuras, but that's only some Hondas and Acuras. It's still going to false alert to others. Motorcycle is life. Should I get an R3 or wait for Thea? I have no answer. It's your money. It's your decision. I tell people what you should do. Thea, who knows when that'll come out? I mean, personally, I'd say get a detector. If you don't have one, it'll save you so many times between now and then that you can always turn around and sell your detector if you need it or keep it as a backup. Like, yeah, Thea is going to be more expensive than the R3, definitely. And if you need a detector now, get a detector for protection. I mean, always upgrade later and switch detectors, sell your old one if you want, or you'll have much more appreciation for the new detector when it does come out. So, I mean, I don't think there's a good reason to run without it if you don't have one already. So I'd say get one. Yeah. Coffee sip. Would you get a Redenso Pro M or an R3? I've covered that on my website. I've covered that so many times. Take a look at any one of my videos. Take a look on my website, on the front page, on the best radar detectors comparison article. I've covered that so many times. Yeah. Redenso, our engineers are still working nights and weekends to develop the, it'll still be released sometime in 2020. Yes! Thank goodness. Thank you so much for chiming in on that, because yeah, that's been a big question mark. And I'm glad to hear you guys are still able to continue working. I know maybe you won't have access to some of the stuff in the lab, but if you're able to keep working from home and keep going at it, thank you. That is great news. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Hopefully it comes out sooner rather than later. I'm expecting just some delays, but hopefully it still does come out this year. Yeah, I'm excited. I've got a whole closet full of radar detectors, and I'm hoping that Theo replaces all those. That'll be awesome. Yeah, you've moved your lab office. Awesome. That's great. That is great. Still be able to do your development. That's awesome. I guess a lot of that stuff is mobile. That's cool. I'm glad to hear that you guys are still able to keep working from home. I mean, I know a lot of us are now. That's the thing, right? I'm here working from home. A lot of you guys are too. Let's see. I'd get a detector to learn the behavior, supposing you don't. Yeah, you learn a lot just by using any detector. And you learn things like, why does my radar detector not false when I pass a cop? Because it's not a police car detector. And what are false alerts like? And personally, I mean, I think one of the nice things about Thea is just the fact that if you've been running a lot of other detectors, you've been experiencing, there's going to be such a huge difference. It's kind of like from a detector that doesn't have arrows to one that does. Like, if you've met that switch and you can now appreciate how much better it is, once I think jump and be more enjoyable if you're coming from a detector that has some of the limitations that Thea is going to help solve. So for that reason, I think if you want to enjoy Thea more, get another detector now that's going to have some of its issues solved by Thea. Or you can just always wait around for the best. That's a cool thing too. So whatever works best. Let's see. Had an R1 that died. Oh, that sucks. What happened? Was it just stopped alerting, or would it not power on? R7 or V1. Don't mind using the phone and looking for the quietest long-range detector in Florida. If you don't mind using your phone, I would say get a V1 over an R7. It's also got great range. It will give you fewer false alerts. It's going to give you auto lockouts instead of manual. I think overall as a package, the V1 Gen 2 with the phone is better than the R7 without a phone. If you don't want to use your phone, totally valid as well. Stick with the R7 because it has GPS and can do everything built in. But when all is said and done, the V1 Gen 2 is going to give you long range just like the R7, but fewer false alerts. And that's a big deal. That's, I think, one of the biggest complaints with the R7. It is going to take a little bit longer maybe to set up. There's more of a learning curve to learn to use the apps, to get maybe your audio if you want to pipe it out through the phone, or just kind of get some of that stuff set up. There is a little bit more of a learning curve, which is one of the reasons why I plan on doing videos and stuff to kind of go over this. But yeah, the V1 Gen 2 is a pretty awesome package. If, again, you're cool with tying it in with your phone, which isn't a huge deal necessarily, but there is a little bit of a learning curve, especially on the Android side with JBV1, if you want all the crazy extra bonus features. So that, again, V1 standalone versus V1 iPhone versus V1 Android, those are all kind of three different packages. Or even iPhone, if you're an iPhone user, what about adding an extra Android phone and then tethering off your iPhone, or running your Android without data versus a Wi-Fi? Like, there's so many different combinations here that it gets a little bit complicated. Just to try to give a complete answer, I feel like that's one of the things to say, like, V1, there's so many different ways to run it that it's hard to give a simple answer, because the combination you choose and what phones you use and what your setup is like in your car will greatly affect the user experience. So yeah. Oh, this is an important question. Charles Ma, when you have a laser jammer, do you still have to slow down when you pass a cop, or can you drive past the cop? Yes. Yes, slow down. And if you get shot, disable your jammers. Like, that's laser jammers 101. So thank you for asking that question. If you drive by a cop and they can never get your speed, that's very suspicious. So slow down, disable your jammers, and let them get a reading off your car. Like, that's really, really, really important. So thank you for asking that if you're not sure, because that's like how you're supposed to use laser jammers, period. So yes. JBV1 works better with iPhone or Android. It's only available for Android. It's not available at all for iPhone, and it is not coming to iPhone. It is only Android. So for that, I personally find JBV1 just to offer a lot more features, which you may or may not need. Again, I'll cover that more. But if you have both, yeah, I mean, I've been running an Android in my car just to run some Android apps like JBV1 or RD Test for the testing stuff, because sometimes things are only available for Android. Let's see. I've seen some early videos where the Gen 2 doesn't ramp up fully before passing a Leo. So something to keep in mind is the ramp up is very different with the Gen 2. It usually doesn't ramp up fully until you're in the kill zone, versus other detectors like the escorts or the unidens will ramp up very strong and very loud well before you're actually getting close to the officer. So if you're used to escort ramp ups, if you're used to Uniden ramp-ups, it will seem like the Valentine is more lazy and it's not alerting. It is, and I saw this in testing with a bunch of different guns, it will ramp up to full tilt as you're getting up to the officer, but a lot of times it won't go full tilt until you're actually you're like right in the kill zone. So it'll seem lazier. It'll seem like it's not alerting to full tilt until you get to the kill zone. Then it will. So that's just something to be aware of like, it's going to communicate to you differently than the escorts and the unidens that you may be used to. So just something to be aware of. The Redensos, I find the ramp ups to be a little bit more jerky, at least with the Pro M. It's not quite as smooth. So I find it a little bit harder to tell, and it's a little bit more jerky than with other detectors. The V1 seems to have the best and most communicative ramp up, but it also communicates differently than other detectors do. Let's see. Gold Death, if you pair Android with V1 for JBV1, can you not Bluetooth your car stereo? Yes, you can still do everything. Even if you have your phone paired with your radar detector, you can stream audio to your car stereo. You can take phone calls. You can run Waze. You can run Google Maps. You can literally do all of that. The apps will just add additional functionality to your detector without sacrificing a great job of adding additional functionality to your detector. That's a really common question. So thanks for asking that. And I'll cover that in some of the upcoming videos. If you have a car that punches through, Rod is asking, it's got BS, is it possible to program that out via the app? I guess you could use custom frequencies to say, don't alert to this specific frequency range. It will obviously also filter out any legitimate police radar at that frequency, but that is an option using the new custom frequencies option if you're seeing full K-band alerts from your own car, which running Mazdas, it's a lot better than maybe the V1 Gen 1 or R7 of running the Gen 2 in your own car. You may still get some false alerts depending on if you've got like a wall behind you or other cars, maybe the reflection bounces into your car. I'm seeing a note here from YouTube about my connection being unstable, so hopefully it's still smooth here. But yes, you can use custom frequencies if you're running into an issue where you have no other way of filtering those out. Use custom frequencies to just block out that frequency range, and that should help. And so, yeah, anyone else getting buffering, I'm not getting the notification anymore. Hopefully it's better. So hopefully that's resolved now. Sorry about that. Internet, I guess people are using a ton of it, but hopefully it's better now. Does JBV1 display at the same time over Waze? How do you want to run it? You can run Waze in the foreground and have JBV1 with overlays displayed on top of Waze. You can have Waze or JBV1 in the foreground pulling crowdsourced information and integrating that in the main display. You can run it backgrounded with only the audio alerts coming through with JBV1 while Waze is in the foreground. You can run both in the background and have them piping in their alerts as needed. Like, yes, you can definitely run these and mix and match. You can run both apps simultaneously with the split screen where JBV1 is on one side and Waze is on the other, or Google Maps or Spotify. You've got a ton of options with this stuff. So it's just one of those things where I feel like there needs to be a little bit more information about this, because so many people are dismissing, I don't want to run a radar detector with my phone, but like it actually works really, really well and it's not that big of a compromise. So it's actually a really good solution. And I just kind of want to do, again, some information about this. So if you're your detector off your phone, are you pairing Bluetooth twice? Your phone can connect to multiple devices. It can connect to your radar detector. It can connect to your car stereo. Your phone can connect to multiple devices. It's not like you can only connect to one device over Bluetooth, if that's what you're asking. Would you personally wait for the new V1 or wait for Thea if you only have one unit? That's a tough question. It's like, are you waiting for a hypothetical detector that doesn't exist yet? Again, I've seen it in action at see a large extent. But that detector still needs so much more development that it's not ready yet. And it's tough to say, let's dismiss everything now for a detector that doesn't exist yet for us to buy. Based on what we know now, yes, Thea looks like it's going to be better than everything else, but it doesn't exist yet. And I mean, a detector now, even if it's not as good as Thea, is better than no detector at all. And I know you've got a V1 Gen 1, so keep running it if you want. Upgrade to a Gen 2 if you want. It's going to be better than the Gen 1 in many ways. But yeah, Lawrence, it'd be great to have a step-by-step tutorial with JBV1 Waze and V1 Gen 2. Take a look. I've got an article on my website. It's called Getting Started with JBV1. It'll go over a lot of the initial stuff, talking about like some of the benefits of JBV1. That app is so detailed. Like the learning curve is pretty steep. I'm still learning that and trying to get it custom. Go check that out. It will be a little while until I do any video with JBV1 because it's such a big learning curve and I still have a lot to learn. It is something that I want to do, but just to be totally honest, it won't be for a little while. So there's already some good information you can check out in the meantime. And as far as Waze, run Waze. In the background, figure out your audio stuff, whatever you want. Some people like it backgrounded. There's things if you're streaming audio over Bluetooth or if you're using Android CarPlay, if it's wired versus wireless, and there's all these different possibilities that there's just a lot of exceptions to the rule and how to set it up to make it work for you. So it's tough to like give a one size fits all or even cover all the possible ways of running these app combinations. That's kind of a tricky thing that I'm trying to figure out too on making sure I cover all this stuff. JBV1 sounds pretty great. Where's the best place to go get more info on it? RDF. Check it out. There's tutorials. There's manuals go over the features. There's setup guides. John Boy, the developer, just posted a tutorial on how to use some of the new stuff. Yeah, go in the forums. There's a ton of information, and people will definitely be very helpful or happy to help you kind of get over this learning curve. I'm still asking questions myself and learning a lot more about it. So yeah, there's a big learning curve to it, and that's right now the best place to go learn. And even once I do a video, I am not going to be covering everything. There's so many features that the video would be 40 hours long. Plus, he's adding for a couple days, so my video would be out of date within a couple days. So extra questions or help you anyway. So the forums, that's the best source right now to learn. Yeah, thoughts on V1 Gen 2, is it went faulty already, like the screen peeling? Hardware issue, I guess. I mean, new technology, new detectors, they're running into some issues initially, and those detectors are going to have to be sent in for people who are having the display malfunctions and the screen bleed. They're having some initial, I don't know if quality control is the right word, but some issues initially. So anyway, I got to get going here. It's now my turn to play with Luna. I know my wife has meeting coming up. I wanted to say thanks so much, you guys. Thanks for just kind of hanging out here on a Monday morning or afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. I hope you're doing well at home, or if you're at work, you're one of the essential workers. Thank you for braving the risks and helping keep society functioning and working. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well, and may do more live streams like this. I've got some more videos planned on doing, so I'll be busy here. Again, thanks, guys. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.